All right, whoa. All right, whoa. All right, whoa. Why is it, can I not go, can I only do vertical? No. I guess I can't, I guess I can only do vertical. Weird. Well, I don't know. I guess I can only do vertical apparently. So let's see. Let's bring it down a little bit. What's up? What's up? I know this is terrible, but I'm trying to get it started. It looked like I can't. I tried to go horizontal, but it won't let me go horizontal. But anyways, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Everybody can hear me okay. Got the new microphone, so hopefully the microphone makes me sound a little bit better. But okay. So I think I'm good. Let me see if my sound is good. Is my sound good? I'm good. Yeah, my sound seems to be pretty good. Okay. Okay. I think I'm straight. Can everybody hear me good? Am I good? Like I said, it's my first time doing this, so hopefully I'm doing pretty well as far as my sound and whatnot. I wish I could do horizontal, but it won't let me do horizontal for some reason. Yeah, it won't let me do it. It tells me to rotate my device. So I'll get a web camera at some point, and then when I get a web camera, I'll be able to, be more horizontal and have it be a little bit better. But okay. So we finally get to read this next chapter to see what's going to happen after Arthur ended up meeting Kezis. I'm sad I can't see that live right now, but I will see the right. Okay. But yeah, so we finally get to find out what happens actually after Arthur meets Kezis, and see, I have a feeling we're gonna just change the POV. Of course, they're gonna change the point of view, but we'll see. But we'll see. So I think I'm good. My sound is good. I think my sound is good. My picture is good. So let's get started here in just a second. Did everybody already read the chapter already? That's what I'm wondering. Okay, so let's start with the chapter. Okay, chapter 405. Tell him, Kara. So we got Kara now. We got Kara. Kara, we're doing her POV. So I wonder where this is gonna take place. Like, is this gonna be after? Oh, you did? Okay, so like Micah already read the chapter. Okay, cool. So yeah, it looks like Kara. We're getting Kara's POV. I wonder if it's gonna take place after or before the whole meetup with Tessia or Cecilia. They keep on calling her. They keep on calling her Tessia in the POV and not Cecilia for some strange reason. But anyways, so let's get started. So 405, tell him Kara. All right. Anyone here use Patreon? I paid for 6 chapters in advanced packaging. I can't access it now. I don't know how to. Yeah, I mean, I'm subscribed so yeah, the 6 chapters. Yeah, you get the 6 chapters if you do the $5. So I mean, you should be able to have access to it just by going to the chapters. You're not gonna have every chapter unlocked, but you'll end up having the first 6 chapters unlocked. Now, if you're a little savvy and you know some websites, you can go to other websites and get access to the early chapters, but that just kind of depends on you. But we're on chapter 405. So if you're not on chapter 405, you probably should not be watching this if you're behind. But anyway, so let's see. Okay, so Kara, report. Sarah said, her tone commanding. My mentor had been more serious and straightforward than usual since her brief conversation with Sifnico and his strange companion. The woman who wore the body of a decapitated elf, the legacy. The bombardment in, what is that? Rosier? How do you say that word? I don't even know how you say that word. Rosary? Rosary? I don't know what that word is. Normally, what I do is just so you guys know. So normally, the way I listen to it, because I be on the road most of the time, what I normally do is I use the, what is it called, the what is it called? It's called the you know, like the little robotic voice or whatever that reads the chapter to you or reads the text to you. That's normally what I do when I'm rolling down the road. I am on chapter 405. Read them as they drop, bro. Read before you just have to support one. Okay, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, I mean that's what. Yeah, Speechify. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, Micah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Speechify. That's what I use. So what I would do is I would go to whatever site or I'll paste the or I'll copy the link or whatever, and then I'll just paste it there, and then I'll just listen to it there because I'll be rolling down the road and I'll be listening to that. And plus I got the audio book and stuff, so I'll be listening to that too. So that's normally how I read it. Now a lot of the times I remember it was one person who was talking shit. Well, he wasn't talking shit. He was kind of just laughing about relic tunes because when you use Speechify and you read relic tunes, it comes out as relictums, and I was just calling it relictums for like the longest time. And then that's when I read, I was reading the audiobook, and then the way that they had pronounced it in the audiobook was relic tunes, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so I guess it's relic tunes now. It's not relictums, but I was saying relictums for like the longest time. But okay, so let's go. Let's continue on with the chapter. I'm really curious to see what else is going to happen right now. Let's see. Sawyer answered with snappish military precision. We estimate 20,000 troops currently, although forces are still being rallied. The shield is holding. And the legacy? Silver's handsome features. Everybody's handsome in the show. Or not the show, in the story. Silver's handsome features darkened at the name. She has so far seen fit to command from the rear. A frown, hardly perceptible, creases Cyrus's brow. Anything else? A fleet of 20 steamships left. I cannot pronounce these words. Dezanis? 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 I think that's how you would say it. So it left this morning, heading south, Sawyer answered immediately. Glancing out, this is completely different from like recording me reading it and then having it edited and stuff like that. So it comes off more like it flows a lot smoother. But I'm sure I'll get better and better the more I start doing this. I won't be able to do this every week though. I know that for a fact. Like this whole live streaming thing, I won't be able to do it every week. But now since I'm home, I can actually do it because I got Wi-Fi. But when I be on the road, I can't do shit because all I have is my phone. That's it. It's difficult out here when you're trying to work and trying to make videos and stuff when you don't have like a laptop and Wi-Fi and stuff. But let's see. Sarah's piercing gaze shifted to me. Do we know if the Redwaters were able to complete the plan you suggested? I tapped one of the many two-way communication scrolls that littered the large table at the center of Sarah's war room. Wolfram? I don't know who that is. That's a new name. Sent word late last night that friendly sailors have been successfully relocated to Dezanis, that's how I'm going to say it, to help fill out the steamship crews. Good, Cyrus said with a nod. Have you received any additional confirmations? I glanced at Sawyer, who responded with a slight shake of his head. No. I see, she said softly, clicking her nails together. Realizing that, she stopped and straightened. Then I shall leave for Rosar, I still don't know how to pronounce that. At once. Sir, you are to stay here and hold the shield battery. Okay, you are to stay here and ensure the shield battery remains operational. So it is like some sort of battery that they use to operate the shield. Because remember, we were speculating that, well, I've seen other people speculating, because it seemed like, based off of what Cyrus had said, was that it had something to do with the sovereign that she captured, Orloth, I think is his name. It has something to do with Orloth. That maybe he was the one that was powering the shield. But it seemed like it's some sort of battery that is powering the shield. And we already remember, Agrona doesn't know anything about, he doesn't know how the shield works, how she's able to cover that much, territory with that shield. So hopefully we find out more about what's making this shield function. Okay, so let's see, where am I at? Relocate our strategic operations to the city of Sandarn. Man, all these new names, man, I can't pronounce it because I haven't heard it in the book. You will be safer there. I bit my lip, but didn't speak the thoughts that came to mind. Sarah's brow rose a fraction of an inch. Forgive me, I started, still gasping for the appropriate phrasing. But I have no interest in remaining safe. I am not expendable. He said that what? Yeah, I think so, man. I think that he might be hooked up. I'm not sure. Maybe he is the battery. I don't know. It's crazy. But you would think that he would probably need some powerful being there to like monitor him and not have like just regular soldiers just kind of be there. So yeah, you think Orloth is the battery? Okay, that makes sense. It probably is, but we don't know for sure. We're just still speculating, but we'll find out. We might probably find out in this chapter. Forgive me, I started still gasping for the appropriate phrasing, but I have no interest in remaining safe. I am not expendable, Sarah said unexpectedly. Okay, so she doesn't view herself as just like, like she said, expendable. So she's still to be needed. So she must have some other stuff going on. Wait. Let me see. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. It says, "Forgive me, I startled, still grasping for the appropriate phrasing, but I have no interest in remaining safe. I am not expendable." I'm so confused. So Sarah isn't saying that she's expendable. This is who is saying? Is this Kara that's saying that they're not expendable? See, normally I would just read past all this and just keep going, but I'm really trying to understand who's saying this. Expendable. Sarah said unexpectedly. My mouth snapped shut in surprise. No one knows your strength better than I, Kara. But I have soldiers. What I lack is an abundance of ritual-born, high-blood foster children with in-depth knowledge of both the intricacies of noble politics and relic tombs. Okay, I think this is Sarah saying that Kara isn't expendable. I think that's what's going on. She paused, giving me an opportunity to speak, but I had no response. This is not a contest of power and strategy between two sides, where strength of magic and arms will win the day. This is a revolution. This is about reshaping the world so that it works for the people who live in it. If I'm too loud, by the way, yeah. If I'm too loud, by the way, I can try to. Actually, I don't even know if I can turn my volume down. I can just try not to be so loud. But she paused, giving me an opportunity to speak, but I have no response. It's not a contest of power and strategy between two sides, where strength of magic and arms will win the day. This is the revolution. This is about reshaping the world so that it works for the people who live in it, instead of the deities who simply use it. And even if it isn't the role you will have chosen for yourself, your part in all of this is to guide your peers towards understanding. So listen, man, Sarah's really has like she's sat around and really like calculated and tried to figure out exactly, like she's planned all this out. That's basically what I'm saying. She's planned all this out. And so like she already knows what roles people are going to play. She already knows it's a revolution. Man, Sarah's is just man, she's one of the most interesting characters in the show. Like we know like Kez is really interesting, Agrona. I mean, they have a lot of really interesting characters in the story. Kez is really interesting. Sarah's is really interesting. Agrona, I want to know more about Agrona's backstory and like, what he's gone through and why he's gotten to the point where he's at right now. But let's see. She paused, gave me an opportunity to speak. I had no response. Okay. My head fell. My unfocused gaze on the ground at Sarah's feet. She quickly closed the distance between us, her hand gently but firmly lifting my chin, as she had so many times before. She seemed to peel me apart with her eyes, lying bare my frustration and fear. I just saw a comment. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Even if I can't foresee everything that will come to pass, she said more gently. She really cares about Kara. That's one thing we do know. She really cares about Kara. Kara isn't just some type of tool she's been kind of grooming to use because she's like, calculated and planned this for the last like 10 years or whatever. Like, she honestly cares about Kara. At least that's what it seems. Even if I can't foresee everything that will come to pass, she said more gently, but I know for certain that any plans I make require you to succeed. Without good people to care for the world we seek to build, what would be the point? Yeah, yeah, you need good people in the world. So I mean, this kind of talks as if like she's like seeing herself die at some point, and she needs good people to be around when she's gone. Her grip tightened on my chin, and she forced me to look her directly in the eye. Now you've come. Wait. Now you wielded enough compliments out of me for one day, and you'll get no more. Make the arrangements with my contacts and stuff. Okay, so I know what this is. So this is this before she ended up meeting the group of high bloods in the bar area? Because I think that's what she's talking about. She's talking about the meeting with the high bloods in the bar. So this is before this happens. Otherwise, continue stirring the pot. Outside, subscribe, blah blah. Okay, now you've heard enough compliments out of me for one day, and you get no more. Make the arrangements with my contacts in Sadarne. I can't pronounce these words, guys. Wait, you said this is after? Is it? You know what? Let me not make anything, any sort of confirmations. Let me just keep reading. I'll know more as I'll make more. Her contact. So yeah. So Michael, you saying after too? Maybe I'm just not reading this right. Now you would enough compliments out of me. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna just keep reading. I'm gonna just keep reading. If I knew the names of these places, it would make more sense. You're confused? I'm confused too. But I'm gonna just keep reading. Let me stop. Let me just keep reading. It'll make more sense as I keep on reading because this isn't the same as like the last chapter. Okay. So make the arrangement with my contacts and reach out if you must. Otherwise, continue stirring the pot outside of Sesclar. She glanced at Salary, who gave her a shallow bow. Then she was marching out of the room, off to lead the primary defense. At Rosary, that's what I'm gonna call it. I glanced around the war room where I had spent many hours since coming to Sesclar. It was sprawling, undecorated space on the west end of Ceres compound. Oh, west end of Ceres' compound, dominated by a long oval table with smaller desks pressed haphazardly to the walls around us. Open arches led out to a wide balcony and overlooked the western half of. I cannot pronounce these names. Okay, I'm gonna try. Adelgard. Edelgard? We getting all these new names. I can't pronounce this shit, man. Half of Adelgard. I'm gonna just move on. And gave a grand view of the Vritra's Moss Sea and the ocean beyond it. Lady Kara, please let me know if you need any assistance, Cyrus said with a bob of his horned head. Then he started out of the room in Cyrus's wake. But like I said before, the way I end up doing it, so I try to support, Turtle Me with the story and everything. So, like I said, I bought the book, got the audio books, and I pay $5 a month on the Patreon to be able to read it. I mean, I just think that it's just fair to kind of like. I think 25 is a little bit too much. That's out of my price range, but I think it's fair to just pay a few dollars or whatever, support the author, and then just read it the way that you want to read it. Like I said, you're not gonna be able to stop people from posting, shit early or whatever. People want to be up to date with the story, but then you got some people who just read it, when it gets released on Topaz or Tapaz, however you say it. But that's where it's officially released. In case y'all don't know, I think it's Topaz.com. They got the comic there, and they have the novel there. But the way they do it, I'm kind of going off topic a little bit. But the way they do it is kind of stupid on Topaz or Tapaz. Is that you buy it off of so what they do is kind of stupid though, because like they give you spend a little bit more money because because I was looking at it, when they release a chapter, they don't release like how if you're subscribed on Patreon, how you get the whole chapter, right? They don't do that. They give you parts of the chapter. So you got to pay like use the little ink they got. You use that three or four times depending upon how long the chapter is. So it still ends up being cheaper than actually paying for on Patreon. Like it's still cheaper as far as dollars cost. But yeah, it's a little weird the way they do it when they release 4 different parts or 3 different parts. But yeah, so that's where it's officially released. Okay, where was I at? Yeah, I agree with you, Micah. The audiobook is my favorite. That's why when book 9, I think it was book 9. When book 9 got released, man, I was so hyped because I wanted to know what was going to happen. Because book 9 goes up to the point where I believe the Lances fight Tassi, and they end up. Aya ended up getting killed because she sacrificed herself. And it was like right before Arthur shows up is where we end off on book 9. Because I remember book 10 began with Alice talking about how she couldn't believe that, Arthur came. So yeah, it was like right after he showed up. That's what it was. It was like right after he showed up. But yeah, the audiobook is way better. Yeah, you gotta read the audio. Like the audiobook, man, what's his name? Baldry, I think that's the voice actor. Man, he's great. He's great with the voices and everything. He's awesome. But anyway, let me continue with the chapter and stop going on tangents. Okay, so Lady Kara, let me know if you need any assistance. Cyrus said with the bob of his horned head, then he started out of the room in Cyrus's wake. Just before he passed under-arched opening deeper into the compound, I said, "Do you think she's all right?" He stopped and turned to consider me. It took a moment for him to come to an answer. She doesn't think about things like her own health and well-being. For her, it's all about the plan. So yeah, so she doesn't see herself as like, oh, I need to survive or whatever. So she's willing to, I'm talking about Sarah, she's willing to die to, get her goals accomplished. I hope they go into her motivation for all this, because I had theories about how, with, what's his name? Alaric? Yeah, Alaric, I think that's how you say his name. Like what happened to his son, as soon as the son's born, richer blooded, ended up getting taken from him, going to a high blood family, and they pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And, they had everybody who they took on who had richer blood, they ended up manifesting their blood. But then his son, they pushed him and ended up killing him. So I was wondering maybe if Sarah's actually had a kid who was richer blooded and they did the same thing. Now, it don't have to be the exact same thing because it'd be too similar to Alaric, but maybe it has something to do with some kid of hers that got killed somehow or something, because we don't know how old she is or anything like that, but I'm just speculating. But yeah, Micah, yeah, 8 and 9 was my 2 favorites too. Like I said, the scene when he was in the courtroom and they talking about the whole time bullshit, man, and then the chains. Oh man, that was incredible. That That was incredible because he could have got out of there at any time. And then the farce of a fucking of a trial that he had with just so much bullshit. Like I was getting heated just listening to the shit too. Like he about to break the chains just listening to this bullshit. And they're like, wait, make sure he's chained up. Make sure it's working. He's secure. He broke the chair or some shit. I'm just like, man, this shit's crazy. But yeah, it was way better reading it in an audiobook or listening to it in an audiobook. But yeah, that was like one of my favorite parts that stuck out to me. And then when he like slaughtered everybody in like the what was it, the first level of the Relic Tombs, when he stayed the family sent the one chick or whatever and had the little magic box and he just broke through all that shit. And then Regis came in and just, man, it was so hype. It was so hype. It was so hype. Anyways, just before you pass on ours, do you think she's all right? All right, so she doesn't think about things like her own health and well-being. For her, it's all about the plan. I couldn't help but smile at maybe I just can't read. Maybe that's what it is. Man. I think it's You know what? I will look these words up, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, is that why she has you then? To think about her health and well-being? No flicker of emotion broke the stoic expression Salerit always wore. Perhaps. He started to turn away and then stopped. We've set up several recording artifacts around Rosa. What did I say it was called? Rosar? If your mind won't settle, perhaps being able to see what's happening will ease your thoughts. Then, like Cerys, he was gone. I wonder how he stayed so calm and collected all the time. Despite looking relatively youthful, Salerit had been Cerys' retainer for many years. Together they had led Sesklar's forces against the Vekorian invasion. Back before I had even been born. Most of the time, so we getting some stuff from the past, so that's cool. Most of the time he seemed just as poised and confident as Cerys. Sometimes when I struggled to see a positive outcome, it was Salerit I attempted to emulate. As my mentor and a scythe, Cerys had always felt like something older, or something other, beyond reckoning. In contrast, Salerit's story was very similar to my own, which somehow made modeling myself after him feel more obtainable. But nothing at all will be accomplished by standing here thinking, I told myself, straightening my stance and pulling my shoulders back. I began rifling through the many maps, missives, and communicates or whatever, sorting them into Hazley piles to be relocated. I stopped suddenly, irritated with myself for forgetting that I had an entire staff of attendants to aid me with this sort of thing. As if summoned by the thought, a young woman named Haella of High Blood Tremblay, a cousin of Malus, poked her head through the door. Oh, forgive me, Lady Kara. I saw Commander Cerys and retainer Salerit leaving. So they literally call her Commander Cerys now. She's no longer a scythe. So she has her own little revolutionary group. Retainer Salerit leaving, and no need to apologize, I said with the wave of my hand. Call everyone in, actually. Actually, we're relocating. Okay, so we change. After a quick meeting with the rest of our small clerical entourage, all trustworthy individuals who agreed with our cause and had talents or runes that helped with the distribution of many missives we sent out, I retired to my private quarters and began to collect my things. So it looks like they're moving, they're changing locations. And, Cerys is just trusting Kara to, get all her. I mean, what's her goal? She said she's trusting her to get, so she's there to lead the different people that she has. I don't know. I'm gonna just keep on reading and see where this kind of goes. I chafed at the idea of hiding in Sedenari, I don't know how you say that, a city in the near center of the west half of Sesklar, as far as possible from any potential fighting. But I knew Saris was correct in her assessment, and while I would have liked to stay in Adelgard and help watch over the shield battery array and the Sovereign at its heart. Okay, hold on. Sarit was more capable than I. Okay, so I would have liked to stay in Adelgard and help watch over the shield battery array. So the shield battery array and the Sovereign at its heart. So the Sovereign, so Orloff is powering the shield because he's at the heart of the shield. So so everybody was right about that. I mean, I kind of figured he had something to do with it, but yeah, so he is the one that's powering up the shield. To help still my mind and stop second, I wish she would meet up with Arthur already, man. I'm just waiting to see like how they kind of interact with one another now that she knows who he really is and whatnot. He did say that he wished he told her the truth. So he wanted to tell her, he just never got the chance to because, he ended up having to kill Cadell and then just ended up God stepping out of there. And then, man, Arthur's been through a lot of shit, man. Like you literally start fighting for your life when you fought Cadell and almost died. Yeah, exactly. He's like the Energizer Bunny. But yeah, you end up fighting for your life during the Victoriad. And then right after that, because he was all hot and angered or whatever, and he was ended up letting himself get injured and shit. But then right after that, you immediately God step, meet Alaric, and then you go through the portal, and then now you gotta fight a fucking Asura and, almost die. Well, he almost died during that because he got lucky because he ended up going into like the relic tombs, but like the middle version of the relic tombs where it's like all completely ether. Like he said, he was breathing ether. But anyway, my whole point that I'm trying to make is just like it's crazy how you went from fighting Cadell and then immediately went to go fight Tassi like right afterwards. Just like he had like no breaks at all. Like it was just one after the other. But anyway. All right, to help still my mind from blah blah. Okay, yeah. So to help still my mind and stop second guessing my commander, I did as Sarit suggested. Set into one wall of my sitting room was a projection crystal I often used to keep apprised of Agrona's messaging to the people of Alacria. With a pulse of mana, I activated the crystal, then set about attuning it for the mana signature of our recording artifacts. It didn't take me long to locate the artifacts Sarit had mentioned. Okay. The image showed the towering curve of the shield splitting the city of how did I say this again? Rosario. I get stumped on this word every time I go through it. All right. The city of Rose. I'm just call it Rose in twain. The device seemed to be located around the city's central boulevard, facing outward. The city captured made my pulse quicken. On the other side of the shield, several hundred battle groups were lined up and hurling thousands of spells, bolts and bullets of every element. Green beams, black rays, and bright missiles crashed into the shield, many dozens per second. The artifact wasn't portraying the sound of battle, but I could imagine the copious crack. I think, man, that's a lot of words in here I don't know how to pronounce. Crashing of the spells, a noise to shake the bedrock foundations of the continent. But so far, as I could tell, the shield barrier was holding without strain. Man, this shield is crazy, man. This is so crazy, that this shield. I adjusted the attunement again and found myself looking at nearly the same image, but from a higher and farther angle. This vantage point allowed me to see the depths of the enemies. I frowned, realizing I had taken to calling the Alacrian soldiers the enemy without even noticing. The war camp far in the distance beyond the eastern borders of the city. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. You easily just kind of forget, these people. But she was already kind of prepared to do that with everything that she was doing with Arthur, like stealing the artifacts or the dead artifacts and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the enemy, but I mean, she was doing a lot of shit just to appease Arthur. So, I mean, she was breaking a lot of rules to begin with. That's all I'm trying to say. and the war campfire the distance beyond the eastern borders of the city. Changing the attunement for the second time, revealing a sweeping, rushing image of the city from a bird's eye view, and my frown curved up into a smile. I found the simple bird-like automations or automatons, one of which I knew was carrying this recording artifact. Endlessly charming, they were a relatively new invention. According to Saris, having been piloted or having been, is that pilot? Yeah. Yeah, piloted in the war against Dicathin, but never put into full-scale use due to the difficulty of crafting such things. I got a comment. Let me see what the comment said. There's only a few of y'all in here, so I'll read everybody's comments and see. Let's see. I want to see Arthur versus Tess. Girls got immaculate control over mana, while Arthur can control both by being proficient in one. Yeah. I mean, see, how strong is Tessia? I'm gonna just call it Tessia, man, because they're still calling her Tessia. So how strong is she really? Or should she just be called Cecilia? I don't know. I need to put some music on or something. If I had like a speaker or something, I'd play some music in the background. But anyways, let's see, blah, blah. Where am I at? The new invention, okay, they didn't use it because it's difficult to craft the things. That just goes to show, like, Agrona could have easily just, like, if he really wanted to wipe out Dicathin back when Arthur was still had, when he still had a mana core, he could have easily just won that war and just wiped out and just killed everybody. Like, they were holding back so much during that war. But like I said, he wanted to use he wanted to use the people. He didn't want to just kill all the people. He wanted to use them, which is why he didn't just immediately just wipe their ass all out. But yeah, that's another thing too to think about. Just like Agrona's actually, when he said that he could do a whole lot more in that war, he really could have done a whole lot. The wraiths, he never even used the wraiths there. He didn't even really use the scythes there. He could have sent, all he had to do was send one scythe. That one scythe would have wiped out all the White Core lances and would have wiped out everybody. Would have wiped out Arthur, would have wiped out, one scythe would have ended the entire war. It would have been over. It would have been over, but he never did that. Okay, so where am I? I watched for some time, forgetting what I was supposed to be doing. Sirius had gathered just over 5,000 soldiers in Reservoir, Rosary, whatever, as a failsafe. As a failsafe, should the shields be breached. And from the high circling vantage, so she still even had preparations, even if the shield somehow got, broken through. The high circling vantage, I could see them in their defensive positions throughout the western half of the city. I tried not to think about how much I would have preferred to be with them, closer to where the action was. A noise like thunder reverberating inside of a bell jar ripped through the air, so loud it shook the floor beneath me and made the projected image jump and blur. I reached out and grabbed the nearby tabletop to steady myself. With the noise came again, and the compound shook even harder. And for a moment, I worried it might slide off the cliff face into the sea. Screams came from a dozen different directions all throughout Saris's home. My mind whirled, struggling to think through the reverberations left by their tremendous noise. So what the hell is making this noise? Then it was sounding again, sending a vibration through my teeth and eyes and into my brain, filling it with a dull fog. Is this Tessia or Cecilia? What in the abyss is? It hit me all at once. The shields were under attack. Moving at a dead spin, or at a dead sprint, I slammed through the door to my chambers and along the hall, hurtling up the stairs three at a time and then peeling through one of the upper dining chambers and out onto a balcony. Beyond the shield, which came up from the base of the cliffs far below to curve gently overhead, two figures flew high above the tumultuous waters of Vitrus Mossy. Okay. The blood rushed from my face, and I had to clench my fist to keep my hands from shaking. I knew these figures. The pieces came together quickly. The legacy must have ordered the bombardment of Rosario or whatever to lure out Ceres. Then took. Okay, this is after. This is after. This is after. I have to reread this chapter again. That's what I got to do. I just got to reread the chapter again. So this is during the time when Ceres comes out from, the previous chapter, this 405, 403. So this is when Ceres comes out and, Cecilia is doing the shit that she's doing with the shield and it's not working. But she's seen this through some artifact. I think that's what they said. The pieces came together quickly. The legacy must have ordered the bombardment to lure out Ceres, then took a tempest warp northwest into Vecker before flying south over the sea. Whether she knew this compound was the source of all the energy. Oh, so this is okay. So this is after that even happened. Was the source of all the energy currently powering the Dominion-sized shield, or was targeting this location only because it was Ceres' home and base of operations? I couldn't guess. I stood immobile as she reared back again, gathering a swelling force of mana to her and hurling her hands outwards. The thunder sounded yet again, a noise so great and terrible that it drove me to my knees and my hands clapped over my ears. So this is actually happening in real time for her. It's not an artifact. I could have sworn she was like imbuing mana into some artifact. Through the railing of the balcony, I watched as the jagged lines of white hot light spread across the surface of the shield, like cracks over thin ice. So is she gonna break through this shield? I mean, it seems like Ceres is already prepared for them possibly getting through the shield, but is she really gonna break through the shield? Because now she's at the main source of what's powering the shield, which is Ceres' home or her base of operations. Let's see. Mentally weak, however, she's physically strong. Micah and I are the same opinion. Don't read all the comments we make, bro. Yeah, I get what you mean, man. Like you know what I want to do though? I will. Okay, if you hear this sound, this is so funny. So right now it's 3:00 Eastern time. And I got this clock, and it uses these jingles, these like Christmas jingles on every hour. So what you're hearing is the clock. But what I was gonna say was, what I actually want to do is I want to like do like some live streams. I can get a couple of you guys on the on like the like a what is it? I think it's like like a conference, whatever it's called. We have like we can just kind of talk about different parts of the story or whatever, or I don't know, just have a whole conversation about the story. Because people read and react to the comic, which is cool. That's fine, but like the novel is just like 10 times better in my opinion. And so it's not really a whole lot of people that's talking about that. And so, to get more people involved and talking about the story, different parts of the story, how they started reading the story, because that's also I'm also really interested in is learning how you guys even found out about the story in the first place. It was just kind of by happenstance that I have found out about it. We're looking at, like I said, reading Solo Leveling and reading that novel. Like that's kind of how I found out about the beginning after the end. But let me finish. Let me finish what I was saying. Yeah, the novel is 10 times better. It's 10 times better. a whole like even because I want to start making some videos comparing the comic to the novel and like what they miss and what they be skipping and shit like that. Like I remember the whole scene with the was it not Aya but the other Aaliyah, I think her name was Aaliyah, that when she ended up getting killed by Uto. Like when I remember when that happened in the actual novel, I was like, whoa, this kind of got me in the feels, you know, like you really felt bad, like they just describing her body and her limbs being taken off. I'm just like, that shit was crazy. But then when you read it in the comic, it was like it was still sad, but it didn't have that same, you know, it didn't have that same effect. And so like from that point on, I'm just like, you know, fuck this comic. I'm gonna just read the novel from now on. But anyway, so right now the shield is being bombarded by Cecilia. And it looks like Kara is just kind of watching all this stuff happen. Okay, strong hands grabbed me from beneath the arms and heaved me to my feet, dazed. I struggled to focus on the face swimming just before me. Kara, listen, a familiar voice from that blurry face. Sorry. Evacuate as many as you can. Okay, so he's worried. Saurit is worried. So that means that she's going to get through the shield. She's going to get through the shield. This is crazy. Okay, evacuate as many as you can. Then send word to Commander Saris. Go yourself if you can, but leave now. The thunder crashed again. I shook my head, blinking rapidly. Saurit's face finally came into focus, even more pale than usual. His jaw tightening and he flinched. Is Saurit gonna die, bro? Is Saurit gonna get killed? Like get sacrificed? I shook my head, blinking rapidly. Saurit's face finally came into focus, even more pale than usual. His jaw tightened and he flinched away from the noise, making me feel better, but also simultaneously worse. It was so much more frightening knowing that he was also afraid. Right, because Saurit is stronger than her. So with him being afraid, she knows that some shit is really going down. As the echoing vibrations receded, I risked a glance at the shield and was horrified to see how far the cracks had spread. Kara! Cyrus said urgently, his hands gripping. Why is she so fucking dead? Like, do what he said. Like, why are you sitting here looking and dazed and dizzy and all this other shit? Like, fucking do what he said and get the fuck out of there. She's acting stupid and Kara is normally super smart. Like, he had to keep on calling her and telling her, it's just, Kara's being dumb right now. Cyrus said urgently, his hands gripping the sides of my neck with a tender firmness. I will stay and fight, but Cyrus said, his name barely a whisper on my lips. He followed the direction of my wide-eyed gaze, and together we watched as the legacy flew towards the shield, both her hands reaching out and pushed into the cracks, taking hold and pulling. So she's pulling this shit apart like glass, like glass shattering, except 1,000 times more cutting. The shield began to give way. Saurit launched himself towards the breach with such force. He's gonna die. Saurit is gonna die, man. This happened. This escalated so quick. It was like she couldn't get through the shield at 1 minute, and then they relocated to Saris's base of operations, and then now they're getting through the shield. I was just giving praise to this, this shield being powered up by Orlath, and now this shield is about to crumble away. So Saurit launched himself towards the breach with such force that the balcony cracked. I threw myself back onto the compound just as the supporting timbers shattered, and the balcony separated from the building with a sound like breaking bones. By the time I had my feet under me, Saurit had reached the barrier. A pure black greatsword, as long as he was tall, clenched his fist. All I could do was watch. Why is she just watching? All I could do was watch as the legacy's fingers clawed through the transparent barrier, ripping a hole the size of an outstretched hand. The shield crackled with desperate energy around her fingertips, surging against her power and control as it attempted to reseal itself. Okay, so maybe it's not going to break. It's going to just kind of like give way and make like a little hole, and she can get through there, and maybe she can make a spell that's going to keep that hole open to where troops can get through, or maybe it'll repair itself. I don't know. But it seems like the shield's trying to repair itself. Suddenly, Cyrus, let's see, suddenly, no, silently, Cyrus thrust his void wind blade into the gate, aimed right at the Legacy's core. Cecil! Scythe Nico shouted in alarm, his voice barely audible over the pounding in my ears. Suddenly, Cyrus jerked violently, attempting to pull away from the breach. He was struggling, but from my vantage, all I could see was his cloaked back. Belatedly, I ripped my own blade free of its sheath. Why is she still there watching? Because if she ends up getting captured, I don't know. Okay, I ripped my own blade free of its sheath, but any attack I made would do more damage to my ally than the scythe and Legacy still on the opposite side of the shield. The barrier bulged inward like a distorted bubble until Cyrus was outside of it. It was then I realized his hands were empty, his sword had vanished, and the Legacy was gripping him by the front of his armor. Bro, the cracked section of the shield snapped back into place as she ripped through it, then shattered with a prolonged crashing like trees being felled in a hurricane wind. Bro, despite Sara urging me to flee, I knew I couldn't. Why have you not left? This don't make any sense. Despite Sara urging me to flee, I knew I couldn't. The shield had been breached. The hole wasn't large, perhaps 8 feet tall and 5 feet wide, but it was more than enough for a person to come through. And I was the strongest warrior. Bro, if she can kill Cyrus, she's going to kill you. Do as you're told. Like, am I crazy? Do y'all think I'm crazy? I'm not crazy, right? Oh my God. Let's see. Okay, so despite Cyrus urging me to flee, I knew I couldn't. The shield had been breached. The hole wasn't large, perhaps 8 feet tall and 5 wide, but it was more than enough for a person to come through. And I was the strongest warrior present aside from Cyrus himself. If I ran, many more might die. As I stood, considering Scythe Nico flew through the shield. As I stood considering, Scythe Nico flew through the shield. I cursed, and his gaze fell on me. Beyond him, the Legacy. Is she stronger than Nico? I'm wondering, is Kara strong enough to beat Nico in the fight? I cursed, his gaze fell on me. Beyond him, the Legacy held Cyrus up with one hand. There was a surging conflict of invisible mana between the two. It was less a battle of spells than a contest of pure control over mana. Unfortunately, I've seen enough at the Victoriad to understand who would win. But there was no more time to watch. Scythe Nico was already moving towards me, flying on a shimmering cloud of air. Leaping back, I slashed with my sword, rending a crescent of black flames clawing towards him, but he dipped below it, narrowly avoiding the cellfire. I stumbled as I completed the arc of my cut. The floor had liquefied beneath my feet just for the blink of an eye, then turned solid again, and my feet were stuck half. Oh, so he's doing some sort of like earth ability. In the moment it took me to wrench myself free of the stone, the scythe had landed within the open arch in front of the shattered balcony. A blood iron spike thrust up from the floor, just where my foot had been. I pirouetted away, bringing my blade up to deflect a second spike that thrust down from the ceiling. I was already breathing hard, too hard, much too hard, when I realized each breath brought me only the barest lungful of oxygen. When I spun around to put my blade between me and the scythe, the emerald on the green end of his staff was glowing with radiant light. So yeah, so he can use. See, Nico, like I told you, that new regalia that he ended up getting, him being able to manipulate all four of the elements is pretty crazy as far as like his flexibility in battle. But he also still needs to get better at it because, you know, even Arthur back when he could manipulate all four of the elements, he couldn't use all of them very, very efficiently. I know he was like really good with fire, really good with lightning, and he was really good with, I think, wind too. But, you know, earth he needed work with, and I think water he needed work with as well. But let's see. He's doing something to draw the air out of the room. My blade, that makes sense because with no oxygen, fire can't survive. My blade burst to life with soul fire flames, and I thrust it into the ruined floor. The stone shattered as the soul fire ate the floor out from under me, and I fell through to land atop a circular table. The legs snapped like kindling, and I leapt off its collapsing surface, twirling through the air to land on my feet several feet away. Gratefully, I sucked in a lungful of good air. The room was dark. I didn't have time to take stock of my surroundings. The floor beneath me burst upward, and solid column of stone hurtling towards the ceiling above. At the same time, several jet black metal spikes grew from the ceiling like so many. I've seen this word, stalactites. Stalactites. I think that's how you said it. Let's see. Planting one foot on the edge of the column, I launched myself away, tucking into a roll and wreathing myself in a halo of soul fire as I went. Behind me, the column exploded, sending knives of solid stone pelting through the room, shredding everything inside. So where the hell is she? The soul fire saved me, burning away all but one of the stone daggers which slashed across my side, leaving behind a line of white hot pain. So about their mana cores, I don't think they've ever referenced in Alacria them having like mana cores and like, you know, the purity of their mana core. Like they never mention anything about whether they have, whether they're like silver core, whether they're light orange or light yellow or anything like that. I remember Arthur estimated like what their core could be based off of how their mana and stuff works. But I think the closest we ever got was he mentioned something about the wraiths and their core looked like a sickly black and he could like feel it or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think they have like, you know, the mana core is the way that they do in Dicathon. They like the more pure the mana core, the better their mana is. I don't think it works that way with the Alacrians. Like you can be like a dark red or whatever, and they can still have really good control over that one specific element or something like that, or that specific spell or the different runes or something like that. But anyways, so we don't know what Kara's core is or how strong. We know that she's strong, but she's not like, I don't know. I'm gonna just keep reading. So she got sliced with one of the rocks. It left behind a white line of hot pain. As I rolled back to my feet, I quickly checked the wound. It was shallow but not dangerous. Savniko appeared above, floating down through the hole I've carved in the floor. I brought my blade up, ready to defend against his next attack. Lady Cara Denoir. His voice was quiet and cold as a tomb. I've enjoyed reading your many missives. Ceres had really kept you busy, hasn't she? If you've come to arrest me, I refuse, I shot back, more to buy myself time than anything else. There was a closed door to my back and an open arch to my right. I needed to move, to keep him occupied and hope that some of the other servants or guards managed to reach Ceres. I needed to move to keep him occupied and hope that some of the other servants or guards managed to reach Ceres. I had to be considerate about how and where I fought, though. The machines far beneath us were well protected by wards of thick walls of metal and stone, but a battle here would still be dangerous. The machines. Like the machines to keep the shield active? That's not even taking into account the fact that I'm facing off with a scythe, I thought. Let's see. Still, unlike the other sides, I could sense his mana signature and his potency. So yeah, so his mana signature and his potency, she's not saying anything about his core. It was being distorted somehow. My eye was again drawn to the strange staff in his hand, but the signature was there and it wasn't as strong as I might have suspected. You still aren't recovered from your battle against Gray, are you? I prodded. Oh, you gonna piss him off? Okay. Let me bring this up again. Okay, so when it comes to fuck is his name? Nico. When it comes to Nico and his feelings towards Arthur, right? So he was manipulated when it comes to his memories. And I think that was part of the reason why he was so like ticked off whenever anybody mentioned Gray, is because that was part of Agrona's influence on him with his memories and whatnot. But it seemed like after Cecilia did what she did and like reformed his mana core, and he started to get his original memories back. Because the way I understand it is he didn't remember his time with Arthur as Elijah. He didn't remember his time there. But then after Cecilia, this is just the way I understand it. Y'all can tell me if y'all understand it differently. But after Cecilia remade his core, he started to get his original memories back when he was like Elijah, and like I guess some of his memories back when he was on Earth, and so he started to get these memories back, and he wanted to keep these memories. But since he got that reformed core, nobody really ever mentioned Gray to him. And every time they mention Gray to him, he will always get pissed off. He will always have this dark expression or whatever. Oh, I gotta kill Gray. Oh, I gotta kill Gray. He's just pissed off anytime anybody mentions Gray. And so I'm wondering now, since she made a little jab at him and said that, oh, you haven't recovered since, facing off against Gray, is he gonna get pissed like he normally did? Or now since he has his memories, is he going to look at it a little bit differently and not be so angry mentioning Gray? This is where my mind is going. So you did remember his time with Arthur? See, I thought that. So when I was rereading the part when I was rereading the part where Agrona was fixing, I think it was Cecilia's memories. And like he put his hand to her forehead or whatever, and he was talking to Nico about, how he brought back Gray first, but then he didn't go into the original body that he had, and then he ended up doing somebody else and it didn't work right or whatever. So he was explaining all these things, and he was also saying to Nico, like, oh, you're okay with me telling her lies and me lying to her about that type of stuff. Do you think that I wouldn't lie to you? So I remember, the whole memory thing really kind of confused the hell out of me, because it's just like, 1 minute I'm thinking he has all his memories. He has his memories in his past on Earth. He has his memories with, being Elijah back in Decathlon. But then it's like, it never gets talked about. And he says that, oh, I got my memories back. And he wants to keep those memories, even though they're not positive memories. I don't know. I gotta reread. It's just confusing. But I'm just wondering how is he gonna react to talking about Gray. Okay, so you still haven't. Oh, and I see Rohit is here, so that's cool that you had joined in. I didn't know how many people was actually gonna watch the live stream. I'll say it again before that this is not gonna be every week. I wouldn't do a live stream every week. I could do a live reaction every week though. Just record my live reaction and upload it when I be on the road. But let's see. You still aren't recovering from your battle against Gray, are you? I prodded. Although I wasn't ready to place bets on whether or not I could defeat even a weakened Scythe, The fact that he had started taking, wait, well, we can say the fact that he had started talking worked in my favor. The longer I kept him occupied, the more our own people could escape the compound. His pale skin flushed, and his heavy, dark eyes narrowed into a scowl. So he's still pissed. He's still pissed again. He's still pissed. His pale skin flushed, and his heavy, dark eyes narrowed into a scowl. I really thought that he like matured, and got better, but anyway, if you take me to Orloth or the source of power from the shield around this dominion, Cecilia the Legacy has agreed to spare your life. Refuse or stall for time, and I will immediately send word to our soldiers in Cardigan to begin exterminating your blood. She don't give a fuck about her blood. She cares about her uncle. Her brother already died as an ascender. She don't care about her blood. I will immediately send word to our soldiers in Cardigan to begin exterminating your blood. As his face flushed, I felt the color drain from my own. I bore a little love for my adopted blood, but that didn't mean I wanted them all butchered. Why bargain from a place of strength? Obviously, the Legacy expects her surprise incursion to be countered. Perhaps she is not as strong as the staff whirled inside Nico's hand, and the entire wall to my left was ripped free and came crashing inward. Channeling mana into one of my runes, I conjured. Yeah, they all use runes. Channeling mana into one of my runes, I conjured a burst of wind that threw my sideways through the open archway to my right. The walls collided as I slid to a stop. The sound of collapsing stone and furniture swallowed everything else as the floor of the room I had just escaped collapsed inward. I found myself in a small chamber occupied by nothing but a few Tyred branches and a beautiful harp that dominated the center of the room. Moving with a speed born of desperation and wind attribute mana, I conjured a fistful of soul fire and blasted through the outer wall of the compound, then dove through the opening as the walls behind me began to unfold. Bullets of liquid fire hissed past me as I arched out into the open air. All motion, the whole world seemed to slow down as I fell. I had rotated so that I could see where the hole in the barrier was. Beyond it, the Legacy was turning, her turquoise eyes snapping to the motion of my fall. 30 or so feet below her, the ashy gray-haired figure of Solarit was stumbling end over end towards the sea and rocks far below. I locked eyes with the Legacy. Then the world lurched into motion again. I pulled in my body to turn in the air and grabbed a broken support from the balcony above, spun around it, and launched myself towards a lower balcony cut directly into the side of the rock. I collided with something, an invisible wall. Okay. There's a lot of descriptions of where she's getting spun and, flown to and blasted and shit. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Agrona just amplified Nico's hate for Gray. Yeah, that's what I think. I think that that's what he did. He amplified it or something. We don't really know exactly what he did, but he definitely did something to make it to where he is more triggered by Arthur. But I thought that him getting his memories back would solve that and make it so that way he wasn't as manipulated anymore. Now he wants to use his artificing abilities and his engineering stuff and build things when never before he wanted to build anything anymore. So I thought that he was actually getting back his memories and turning into a different person. But I don't know. It's a little strange. But let me see. He wanted Agrona to erase it, but Agrona didn't. Did he want Agrona to erase his memories? Well, no, he. I don't know. He only recently became a scythe. So let's see. You got Fullerton says memory was also altered to not hate Arthur and the cousins. Yeah, I think the way that the soul fire works is, doesn't the soul fire use fire and wind mana in order to make the soul fire? Because I know like the acid was like water and something else to make like acid and stuff. I don't know. Let me just keep reading to see what's going to happen with Kara. Okay, so she collided with an invisible wall, keeping me from the balcony. At the speed I was moving, my legs crumbled, and I bounced off the surface before falling straight down, stretching until my shoulder popped. My fingers just brushed the top of the balcony rail, but skated off them. I scrambled to grab onto the bars, failed, but then caught the bottommost ledge of the balcony itself. Jerking to a halt, my fingernails scoring lines into the wooden bars, or the wooden boards. Heaving, I pulled myself up and over the railing in one smooth motion. So where the fuck is Nico during all this? Behind me, a cloud blotted out the light. I spun around. The legacy had just reached a hole in the shield. I had shrunk down to the size of a window. This chapter seems really long. It's either really long or I'm just stopping too much and I'm reading really slow. Forcing it back open, but a dark cloud was growing in front of her, and the hole, billowing up from nowhere, condensing and dragging in the mana all around it. It seemed to leach the color from everything in sight, turning the whole world shades of gray. Shades of gray. 50 shades of gray? 50 shades of trash? Oh, I watched as the mist rushed out through the gash, boiling over the legacy. Wait. Oh, I watched as the mist rushed out through the gash, boiling over the legacy. She shot backwards, abandoning the shield. Wait, what is this? This is new. This is new. Let me go back for a second. A dark cloud was growing in front of her, and the hole. So she made the hole. Dark cloud is growing in front of her. So somebody made a cloud, billowing up out of nowhere, condensing and dragging in the mana all around it. So this is like a dark mana cloud. Is this Sarah's ability or something? It seemed to leach the color from everything in sight, turning the whole world shades of gray. Awed, I watched as the mist rushed out through the gash, boiling over the legacy. She shot backwards, abandoning the shield as she defended herself from the spell. With each wave of her hand, parts of the cloud were wiped away as if they were nothing more than soot smeared on the sky. But I could sense the raging mana pushing, ripping, and pulling from both directions. Then Scythe Nico drifted down in front of me, interrupting my view of the battle. Also, I think that's still her battle with Salarid. You're good at running, he said, fanning the casual air, but I could feel him flinch every time the mana burst behind him. So he's worried about Cecilia. And every muscle in his face was taut as a pulled bowstring. But I was hoping. Suddenly he twisted around and several blood iron spikes appeared, weaving together to form a shield. In the same heartbeat, a pure black jet of energy struck the shield. Ringing like a giant gong, the blood iron burst apart and the scythe was sent tumbling. So who is this? Who just did this? Is this Alaric? Or no, Alaric? Did he come in? Did he like go hit the gym I don't know. I'm just making shit up. The blood iron burst apart. The sack was sent tumbling down out of my sight with a yelp. A figure a little more than a liquid pearl, so this has got to be a woman, and black streak flashed past my vision and through the shrinking hole. On the other side, I realized the black mist was gone. The legacy was flying 50 feet from the shield. She appeared unhurt. The pretty elven face she wore glowered, and a horrible aura shivered out from her that made the mana itself trigger. So now a tremble. So now she's, using her intent and she has her aura that's like affecting other people now too. A horrible aura shivered out from her that made the mana itself tremble. Ceres hovered before the closing rift in the shield. So that was Ceres. I think that was Ceres that did the mist. That's what I was thinking, but I was like, okay, it was just solid. But no, I think it was Ceres. Ceres hovered before the closing rift in the shield. So the shield is closing, glimmering like a gemstone in her black-scaled armor. Although I could hardly fathom it, she maintained her usual business-like nonchalance as she said, "It's pretty rude to show up at my home unannounced and uninvited, Cecilia." Man, oh man, do we get to see Ceres' ability? So she can make this mist that like absorbs mana of some sort. Nico, the legacy shouted, her gaze flickering past Ceres to the compound. Nico, are you alright? Remembering the scythe, I glanced down from the balcony, but there was no sign of him. When there was no response, the legacy expression hardened, and she drifted towards Ceres. This is over, Scythe. I control mana, all of it. I can pull down your barrier. Submit and take me to Orloth now. You're winded, Ceres said, and although I couldn't see her face, I could tell she was smiling. You don't have the strength left to fight me. Leave. Go back to Agrona and tell him you failed, that everything he sacrificed to bring you here was for naught. Tell him I'll be waiting right here if he wishes to speak to me. Man, this Ceres is unfazed. She's unfazed by everything. Man, tell him you failed. Tell him you gotta show up here yourself if you want to talk to me. A ripple passed through the space between them, and Ceres' mouth snapped shut. Her body leaned into whatever the legacy was doing. Hold on. A ripple passed through the space between them, and Ceres' mouth snapped shut. Her body I will say this, though, for a second. She's talking her shit, but she's definitely worried about Cecilia's capabilities. She's definitely worried. She wants to get her killed. She even said herself that she's thought plenty of times of ending her life herself, but she never had a good opportunity to do it, or she just never did it. But yeah, she's talking her shit, but she's definitely worried. And so as soon as she's doing whatever she's doing, her mouth snaps shut. So what the hell is she doing? Her body leaned into whatever the legacy was doing. Dark lines of void, wind banded around her, flexing outward against the invisible force assailing her. Then, starting with Ceres and rapidly expanding outward, a sphere of pure inky black obscured them both. A ragged gasp slipped uncontrolled from my lips. She can't win, a voice said from behind me. I spun, bringing up my blade and wreathing it in soulfire, but Scythe Nico held up his hand placatingly. I'm not going to attack you again, he said sincerely. I waited, watching closely for any sign of aggression. His manner was still, his movements cautious and steady. There was a spark of curiosity in his eyes, or was that victory I sensed emanating from him like an aura? So he must be talking about Ceres can't win? A sudden jolt of panic surged through me, and I glanced at the shields. They were still operational. Surely he couldn't have breached the complex below in such a short time, and even if he had, the shields would already be showing the effect. Maybe not, but what is to stop me from attacking you? Maybe not, but what is to stop me from attacking you? I asked to fill the silence, unsure what he could want from me or why his attitude had suddenly changed. This, he said, drawing an item from inside the pocket of his battle robes. It was a rough surface sphere. Oh, so is that Sylvia's core? A rough surface sphere larger than his hand, transparent except for a light purple shading. I had seen cores before and felt certain this was one, but it was larger than any mana core I've ever seen. There was something almost magnetic about it, as if it were calling out to me, pulling me to it. I don't care about this rebellion, the Scythe continued, pulling the cord slightly closer to him as my gaze clung to it. I don't give a shit about Orloth or any other rich. Why is his attitude changing all of a sudden? Like, he is so fucking bipolar, man. Like what? I'm confused, man. Nico confuses the fuck out of me all the time. Okay. I don't care about this rebellion, the Scythe continued, pulling the cord slightly closer to him as my gaze clung to it. I don't give a shit about Orloth or this or any other Vritra. He focused past me onto the black sphere. All he cares about is Cecilia, blah, blah, blah. Into the black sphere. If you would do something for me, I'll leave. I'll even buy you time. I hesitated, then dragged my attention from the cord up to Scythe Nico's face. Everything I ever heard about him framed him as some kind of monster, a cold-blooded killer, careless as a sharpened blade, eager to cut anyone who had grown a target. But now, looking at him, his black hair clinging to his forehead, his dark eyes simultaneously furious and pleading, I could see he was hardly more than a boy. What? I finally said. Take this core, he said, holding it back out to me. Give it to Arthur Leywind? What? Okay, let's take this core. Give it to Arthur Leywind, Gray, on the other continent. Tell him he paused, and a pained look crossed his face. Tell him he has to save her. He owes her a life. What is he talking about? Are y'all confused? First, he wants them to show them where Orloth is. Then he attacks her. And then something hits him and goes through his iron-blooded spikes and sends him flying. And then now it's like he got hit and it hit his head, and then now he's got amnesia and he doesn't know why he's there anymore, and he doesn't care about Agrona and what he wants. And now he's saying to give the core to Arthur, that he has to save her. He owes her a life. Is he talking about Sylvie or is he talking about Sylvia? It's Sylvia's core. I'm so confused. The spider is on my head and I'm so confused. I'm confused, man. I'm so confused. Y'all still arguing about this magic stuff? Let's see. Yes, deviant spell. The last chapter, seeing his girl acting like him, man. I'm afraid of going. Yeah, I was probably gonna have every. Man, I'm so confused, man. Wait, you see he's talking about Tess? I'm gonna just keep reading. This is what happens when I start thinking and I pause and I start getting my thoughts out. I miss stuff by just keep keep reading. Let's see. Okay. He owes her a life. I frowned, uncertain. I don't understand. He took a quick step forward, heedless of the blade pointing at his throat, and pressed the cord towards me. My sword nicked the sides of his neck, drawing a thin light of blood on his sickly pale skin. Take it and tell him. Slowly, I took one hand of the hilt of my sword and took the cord. It was cool to the touch. What does this have to do with Gray? Arthur Leywind. Who is she? The legacy? What? Take it and tell him. Slowly, I took one hand of the hilt of my sword, blah, blah, blah. What does this have to do with Gray? Arthur Leywind. Who is she? The legacy. Nico had taken a step back. His jaw tightened and his voice was strained when he next spoke. I'm trusting you with the most important thing in this entire world. I am so confused. The most important thing in this entire world, the core? Cecilia? Before I could press him further or think to refuse and hurl the core into his face, he had slipped the staff from his back and cast a spell to warp himself in wind, then flashed out of the compound towards the black sphere, vanishing into its impenetrable depths. I clenched the core and stared back into the abyss and into the abyssal dark. Not only could I see nothing, I couldn't sense anything either. It was as if Ceres or the Legacy, I thought with a chill, had carved out a piece of the world and left behind only an empty batch of nothing. Is this okay? Just when I wondered how long anyone could keep up such a spell, the sphere exploded. Darkness swallowed all light, and for a heart-stopping moment, a breath that felt like eternity was utterly blind. Just as quickly, the black melted back into light and color. I sagged against the wall and stared up where Ceres and the Legacy had been. Inside the shield, Ceres hung in the air, one arm holding the other limply against her side. Opposite her, well outside the transparent barrier, Nico was supporting the Legacy, who leaned against them, her gunmetal hair hanging down across half her face. One mad turquoise eyes glared out. Unlike Ceres, though, the Legacy bore no signs of physical injury. What the hell? Between them, the Asura-powered shield was once again complete and unblemished. No sign of the rift the Legacy had torn. Nico began turning the Legacy away, and she let him. At the last moment, he glanced away from her, just for a single instant. Our eyes connected, then the two were hurtling away at speed. Ceres watched them go until they had vanished from sight to the east before finally drifting down towards me. She looked tired, a bone-deep fatigue I couldn't have imagined seeing in her even at the very end of her power. And my heart skipped a beat. So they must have been in that sphere for a lot longer. Like time must have moved differently inside that sphere than in the outside world. What are you guys saying? Are you guys helping me out understanding this chapter? He gave Arthur the core to get stronger. Okay, I think he's talking about Test Man, because Nico, let's see, Nico doesn't have. I don't know. I don't know about y'all predictions, man. I don't know. I'm so confused about this core because I thought the core didn't have any sort of mana. Because remember when Nico got his, when he first used his regalia, and he was able to see everything that had mana in it, small little artifacts, the pen, all types of stuff. But when he looked at the core was dull and gray. It didn't have any, it didn't shine like all the rest of it. So I thought the core was just completely done and used up. Let me continue. Let me read the rest of this. There's only a little bit left. Ceres watched them as they vanished from sight. She looked tired. The very end of her power, her heart skipped a beat. Go down and check on the battery array, she rasped, and have the technicians create an opening near the base of the cliffs. She winced as she looked down towards the water. I need to go find my retainer. Yeah, so he got fucked up. Saria got fucked up, and she's about to go find him. So she cares about her retainer. Okay, I'm gonna say this before I close out. Right, I'm really curious about this this core. Nico gives the core to Kara. For what reason, though? Okay, this is what I want to talk about. For what reason does he give the core to Kara? Let me go back to that part where he says, So take this core, give it to Arthur Lewin Gray on the other continent. Tell him he has to save her. He owes her a life. Okay, who is he talking about? He doesn't know Sylvia. He's never met her. So it doesn't make any sense. Tell him he has to save her. He owes her a life. Why would the core help? The core, okay, so I know that what Arthur could do, he could use Aurora's Requiem to reverse the core, like the status of the core. Maybe Sylvia could come, like, I don't know, maybe her presence could come back or something like that. Maybe it can make the core like, vibrant again. But why would he want to give it to Arthur? He hasn't met Sylvia. Tell him he paused. He has to save her. He owes her a life. Save. It doesn't make any sense. I'm so confused. I know she died in the last life, Micah. It doesn't make sense that he's talking about Tess. Unless, wait. Unless his memories, right? Because we know he got his memories back. Because I said before, I don't think he had his memories from back when he was Elijah. And he was fond of Tess, back when they were, when they was all going to school together. So maybe his fondness for her is coming back and he's like, he has to save her and bring her back. He owes her a life. Maybe this does make sense. Tell him he has to save her. He owes her a life. But it also seemed to me like the core was some sort of like deal or something too. But how would the core help bring Tessia back though? That doesn't make any sense. That's Sylvia's core. Let me go back and reread this part. Take it and tell him, what does this have to do with Gray? This is Kara. What does this have to do with Gray? Arthur Lewin, who is she? The legacy? Took a step back. I'm trusting you with the most important thing in this entire world. How is this core the most important thing in the entire world? I am confused. I know you're saying Tess and you're just like, okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense though. It doesn't make any sense. But let me see what else y'all are saying. He just gonna give the core to Arthur because he knows Arthur's gonna do something with that core, but in exchange he has to save Cecilia. Maybe Arthur gonna use that core to help Sylvie. Yeah, I'm confused. I know we're coming up with ideas and we're guessing, but I'm really just confused on what he's going to be doing with this core. Owe Cecilia a life because Cecilia died by grace. I don't think he's talking about Cecilia. Cecilia's already here. So he already has Cecilia. So I don't think he's talking about he owes her a life. Tess makes some sense to me. But this all just seems extremely out of character. Tell me if I'm right. This all just seems extremely out of character for Nico. All of a sudden he went from, oh, tell me where Olaf is, to I'm not going to attack you anymore. I'm going to give you Sylvia's core. I want you to give it to Arthur and tell him that she deserves a life. And I'm trusting you with the most important thing in this entire world. The most important thing in the world to him is Cecilia. But what does Cecilia have to do with Sylvie's core? Not Sylvie, but Sylvia's core. Before I can press him any further, blah blah. I clutched the core. Yeah, they don't say anything else about it. Yeah, so that's, man. It's crazy. It's crazy and don't make any sense. Nico just seems like he's bipolar as hell, and he keep on changing his mind. He keeps going out of character. The core can make Arthur get stronger. I don't really see how the core will make Arthur get stronger at all because the core doesn't have ether in it. When we first saw the core, Nico touched the core and he got like purple. You know, he could see like purple, like he could see ether for a second. Maybe the core is going to help him bring Sylvie back. Maybe the core could somehow, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing. Let's see what else y'all saying. Also Cecilia life because blah blah blah. The core can help Arthur get stronger. Man, he is talking about Cecilia 100% because he said the most important thing in this world. Yeah, I know he said the most important thing in this world, but he said the core. I'm trusting you with the most important thing in the world. But what does the core has to do with this? This is so confusing. The last chapter, Nico was feeling real guilty. Remember? Yeah, I remember he was feeling guilty. He was feeling guilty about all his shitty ass decisions with, you know, him going along with the manipulation of Cecilia and Agrona, all the lies and all that shit. And he started to feel bad. He said he wanted to talk to her. We don't know if he ever actually ended up talking to her at all. But let me see. Maybe he did something with the core. Oh. My dude's back. Nice. Maybe he did something with the core with his. I'm thinking that Aurora's Requiem can use that to like do something with the core to maybe like revert the core back to like normal or give it energy again or something. Maybe it has another message in it for Arthur. But then why is Nico the one giving? I don't know. I'm just frustrated and just going in circles. But here's what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna do a review on this chapter probably in the next couple days or so, depending upon how much time I got. And and I'm gonna go from there because I'm gonna have to reread the chapter like 3 or 4 times. But that's it for me, you guys. I'm gonna reread this chapter and figure out what the hell is going on here. And I'll give you guys a review coming soon. Later. Peace.